Hey fiber friends, welcome to the 4knitsakes channel. My name is Allison and I am coming to you from El Paso, Texas, where I live with my husband Jonathan, my two sons Levi and Oliver, and our fur baby Lucy, who is an 8-year-old Boston Terrier. If you are new to the channel, thank you so much for stopping by. Give me a like and a subscribe if you choose to, and if you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. If you're new, this is a channel about knitting, crocheting, a little bit of sewing, cross-stitching, any of those fiber arts and any other crafts that happen to catch my fancy at the moment. And it has been 2 weeks since I've chatted with you guys. Today is Monday, May the 28th, and today is Memorial Day. Now, a lot of you know that today is a day for a 3-day weekend, barbecues with friends, but Memorial Day is a day that we remember the fallen in our military. And if you haven't watched the channel before, I am a military spouse. My husband is in the Army. And today we remember those that sacrificed everything in order to let us be us in this country. So just remember that today. And I hope you're enjoying it with your families. And if you do have time off, that you're enjoying that time off as well. So today I have a lot to show. I have a lot of finished objects and even more works in progress, but I will try to keep it fairly short. I am also trying a slightly different setup. I've mirrored my phone to my computer, so if you see me look like this, I'm looking at my computer screen because the back camera on the phone is much higher quality than the front. So I'm just trying this out. Also, if you're choosing to watch this on YouTube, if you're on the computer, there's this little down bar tab that you can choose to change the resolution of the video, and I've noticed whenever I go back to play to make sure everything looks okay that it gives me almost the lowest quality of video, but I do upload in the highest quality because I have such a minimal setup. I don't have a fancy camera that takes video, so I use my phone and work from that. We have a knit along going on, and you can find the information about that in the group on Ravelry. And if you just search 4knitsakes podcast, you can find the information and show notes there. I think last time I checked, we have about 20 FOs right now, and it is going until July the 1st. So you have about 1 month left, plus a couple extra days to finish up your items, crocheted or knit. They just have to be at least 50 grams as finished objects. That's the only rule. And we have prizes. Well, a prize that I'm probably just going to bundle as one, and I did sew the bag that I promised that I would get done. It's a little sock style bag, and so this is the Galaxy fabric that I picked out. You're going to have to forgive me because I did such a rookie move, and I cut the top part of the fabric when I should have put my pattern piece up top and cut from the bottom, but I wasn't thinking that day. But that's the only thing about the bag. It's really cute, and I kind of wish I had more of this fabric to show. I did find some more Galaxy fabric, and I'll show that in my acquisitions part of the video. But this is done, and it is to be paired with, sorry for the crinkles, it's still packaged because I want to keep all the bugs and dust off of it, with this skein that was donated so graciously by Carrie from the Creative Obsession. And it is called Stardust, which I think goes perfectly with the bag. So if you win the knit along, or if your name gets drawn from random number generator, you will be getting this skein of yarn, as well as the bag and some little extra goodies that I have around, like some stitch markers and stuff like that. So get your FOs in so you guys can hopefully win this bag. It's really cute. And the glitter does not come off. I've washed it and nothing comes off, so you guys can not worry about having the herpes of the art community in your project bags, I guess. So if you want to find me on social media, you can find me under 4knitsakes on Instagram and Ravelry, and if you need to message me, you can do so on any of those platforms. I'm usually quick to answer anything that you guys might need. Sorry about that. Because it is a holiday today, I do have both kiddos home with me today. My husband is playing at a ceremony this morning due to the holiday, so I am by myself. So they're keeping themselves occupied. Another reason why I like to keep my podcast fairly short is because my kids get screen time whenever I record, and I try to keep that to a minimum since I have to record and then edit. So, but continuing on, you can find me on social media if you want to ask me any questions or send me any messages. I'm more than happy to receive them from you guys. So we're going to dive straight in with our 300 writing prompts. And this goes along with a story, because the writing prompt is, recall a memorable haircut or hairstyle you have had, given, or witnessed. This is a haircut that I received a week ago. This is the second version of that haircut, because the first one I got was very choppy, uneven. It's very difficult to find somebody to cut short hair well that doesn't cost an astronomical amount of money. So I had decided to try someplace new, which is where my husband gets his hair cut. And they were cutting Oliver's hair, and they did a fairly good job. And then the lady in the chair next to him asked if either of us needed anything, and I was like, well, I'll just take a chance. And I shouldn't have done it, because I said shave from here all the way around and down on a 3, which is the clipper number, if you don't know, and then blend it up, keep this side shorter and this side longer. But what she did is she completely just chopped this off here. If you look at previous videos, you know that I usually have enough that I can sweep behind my ear, and then this side she didn't do anything. She didn't even shave under here, so I still had really long hair on my ear. Now, it was a fairly inexpensive mistake, but then I had to go the next day to the place that I usually get my hair cut, and she fixed it, but I'm missing a significant amount of hair that I hadn't planned on cutting before. And I know we've all had those bad haircuts at some point in our lives, but it's so difficult when you move every 2 to 3 years to find somebody that can cut your hair well. And so I finally found somebody, and she's right down the street, luckily, and their haircuts are very inexpensive. So I can afford to go every 6 to 8 weeks as opposed to waiting, 2+ months for short hair, which gets very shaggy in the back. But that was very sad, but I got it fixed, and that's all that matters. So moving on, if you've had a memorable haircut or hairstyle, put it down below. I'd like to hear your stories, whether they're good or bad. So let's jump into finished objects, and I just showed you one, which was the bag for the knit along, and I've actually done a fair amount of sewing, so I'm going to go ahead and show those. I raided the remnants bin at Joann last week, and 2 weeks ago, well, maybe a few weeks ago. I go every once in a while to check out the remnant bin, especially when they're 50% off, and I was able to find some more galaxy fabric, but this one has planets on it. So I made a little sock bag. It's just as glittery as the other one, but this one has planets. And I just picked up some spools of ribbon to use for drawstrings. So it's a nice, perfect size sock bag to use. Oliver has already claimed it, so he likes to carry around his Legos in it all the time. So I'm gonna plan to do a couple more of these over the next week, but I only need so many project bags. And then I found this really cool Stormtrooper jersey fabric, and my niece's birthday was just a couple weeks ago, the 18th, so just a week ago. And I wanted to make her a little skirt. So I made her, this is super cute. It's totally not even, and don't check out the stitching on the inside because I am not great at sewing with jersey. Super stretchy and it likes to move, but I did put in an adjustable waistband here. So she can, trying to figure out which direction to go. Here we go. She can adjust and make it tighter. I think right now, yeah, it's on the tightest one right now, but this fits Oliver and Levi, so I know it'll fit her for a fairly long time, and then her little sister can wear it. So, because I had just enough width in the fabric to make a long enough skirt that will grow with her as she gets bigger. So that is my third sewing FO, and I have 2 yarn FOs because one's crochet and one is knit, and one of them is my cardigan that I designed. I think last time I had barely just split for the sleeves, and I had gotten this information from when we did the Knitting Fairy workshop at the beginning of the month, where we learned how to design our own top-down cardigan, raglan style. So fairly easy. I've already kind of understood a little bit about gauge, but it was really nice to be able to understand how many stitches to cast on, more information on button bands, the math on how many rows and calculating where you have to do your decreases. But I am very happy with my finished object, and I've been able to wear it once only because the theater that is close to our house is freezing cold, and I went to go see Life of the Party with my friend, and it was perfect for the movie theater, and I cannot wait for it to get cold again, you know, in November to wear it, but I'm going to need it where we're moving next, which I will share later on. But here is my cardigan. I have not blocked it just because it fit really well when I first finished it. So I'm trying to see if I can see this. Ah, the button band is kind of curling in the middle, and this is where blocking would make a huge difference. But I did. It's just a fairly straightforward raglan style cardigan here. I think this took me less than 3 weeks to make because I cast it on the 6th and I finished it maybe like a week and a half ago, and I haven't shared it on Instagram because I can't seem to get a good photo of it. But I did it kind of like the Harvest cardigan by Tin Can Knits, where it has this garter stitch button band and cuff and hem. And I was so super worried about running out of yarn. You guys, I still have like 150 grams total left. So this sweater only took me about 1,200 yards, and I'm a 41-inch bust. So, and this keeps happening to me. I keep having a very large amount of yarn left over. So the yarns I used was this dark blue is Wool of the Andes in Delft Heather, the non-superwash version. And then people are gonna yell at me because this teal color right here is superwash wool. And this is Fibra Natura Lima. I don't remember the color, but what I did is I figured out some striping so I could gradually get to the darker color. And I did the same thing on the body as I did on the sleeves. If I can pop in a picture of like how it sits, that would be great. I'm not gonna put it on because, you know, it's already like 80 degrees outside and it's supposed to be 99, and this weekend it's supposed to be 106. This desert life is not for me. But I finished that, and it's nice and long, and I assume it's probably going to get a little bit longer when I block it. Like I said, I don't really want to block it because it fits so well, and I'm a little worried that the superwash part is going to make the length grow significantly, but we'll have to see. So no pattern. If you're interested in knowing like how I kind of constructed it without giving away the whole class that I took with the Knitting Fair, you're more than welcome to message me. It's fairly easy if you can understand gauge and you're pretty decent at math. That's all it is. Okay, next finished object is a blanket for Project Linus. I said I wanted to get one more done before we're supposed to have our next meeting in June, so I did a corner to corner blanket crochet with a chunky hook. I think it was a J hook, and I finished. Trying to show it all to you. So I started at the bottom with this like navy blue color, and I crocheted until I ran out of yarn, and then I did this whole middle section with the variegated yarn and crocheted until I ran out of yarn again. And then I finished up the blanket with like this aqua blue color that matched the colors in here in the variegated. And so I do have like a smaller chunk up here than I do down here, but I like to use all the bits of yarn so I don't have these like little balls of leftovers. So I could have like counted and made sure like the solid sections would be the same size, but it doesn't matter that much to me, and I think it just like adds to the handmadeness of the blanket. So I'm gonna fold it in half so you guys can kind of see this side. And yes, I do realize that there's kind of a hole right there. I'm gonna try to fill it in as I go. But our first meeting I think should be this Saturday, so I should be able to donate this one and one that I showed a couple weeks ago on one of the other podcasts. I did a scrappy crochet granny square where I just kind of went around and around and around and around. So those are all of my FOs, and then I have a large amount of whips today because I had a little bout of cast-on-itis, and then I cast on 3 projects in one day. Sorry, you guys, but we'll start with the socks because there are 3 socks that I have to show. And the first one are almost an FO. I just have to put in the heels, and those are my monkey socks for the month of May. Meet, get out. My needles. That was Oliver. Don't mind him. They're downstairs, and like I've said before, I'm in this open space in this loft, so sound just kind of travels. So sorry about that. Call me unprofessional, whatever. So I have finished both socks. As you can see, I did the stripes going opposite order. I was going to do matching socks, but then decided not to. So you can kind of see like the middle of the sock here. The blues are down here, and then the blues are up here. Ooh, this is really difficult with the mirroring. And so I have my little markers, my markers marked where I'm gonna do my cut-in afterthought heels, so I just have to get those done. And then my May socks will be finished. And I was knitting those on US size zeros, 2 millimeters. And this is, I'll talk about a little bit about my needles that I've gotten. And I decided to purchase some Zings from Webs. So I bought this as well as some, my computer just went to sleep. Hold on, putting in the password. I got these as well as some cubics in 1.5 to work on my Cozy Memories blanket back here. And some yarn just to kind of round it out for an order, because I felt silly ordering just 2 pairs of needles and no yarn. So that's part of my acquisitions. And then next are my sport weight socks that I cast on, because the brioche cowl that I was working on at softball was a little difficult to not look at and knit, so I could like watch parts of the game. So I decided to cast on some sport weight vanilla socks and some Hawthorne Sport that Carrie sent to me as a gift. So Hawthorne Sport is very, very thick. I think it's closer to a DK, because my usual cast on number for sport weight socks is 48 stitches after, whether I'm at the cuff or if I need to increase from the toe. And I did 48 stitches, and they were very large socks. So I think I had to go down to 44 stitches. Let me count. 2, 4, 6, 8, 14, 16. Yeah, I had to go down to 44 stitches for these socks. And they were still a little baggy, so what I decided to do is add this little ribbed section here in the middle of the foot. And it's on both sides. And because it's in my arch, I don't really notice it when I'm wearing them. So I really like the way it is. This is the colorway Buckman. And as you can see, it kind of spirals. So you can follow the spiral here, all the way up to here. And it's just gonna keep spiraling around as I'm knitting it, which I think is really cool. It doesn't bother me at all, but just some plain sport weight vanilla socks. Just gonna keep knitting and knitting and knitting. I'm gonna try to make longer socks, because where we're moving next is very cold. If you can take some guesses on the choices that we gave on my last podcast. And then what's another pair on the socks? So I decided to cast on another pair of vanilla socks, and I decided to do it with this yarn I received from Janine during the Get Your Yarn Wishes Granted. And it's her self-striping yarn in the Lorax colorway. Trying to fit, there we go. There's the middle. And so it comes in this really pretty gobstopper ball and a 20-gram mini of this orange color, and this is the perfect color for the Lorax. And my husband's not a fan of these colors, but he's not wearing them, so it doesn't matter. And so all I did was just cast on a plain vanilla sock, and I decided to do an afterthought everything sock. So I started at the cuff, and I'm just gonna knit a huge tube. And so I just need to figure out how long I want to make the socks. The only thing I'm not really a big fan of doing cuff to cuff and then cutting in the middle is because my cuffs are gonna fit differently. Even though I do a German twisted cast on for the cuff, the bind off on the other side is going to be significantly stretchier than this one. So they're going to fit a little differently. And the stripes are obviously going to go in separate opposite directions, which isn't going to bother me that much. It's just like those little things that I'm gonna notice when I put them on. But It's not the end of the world, but these stripes are so pretty. They're very tonal. There are some kind of like little bare spots where the color changes, but I think these are just such fun socks. And her alternative sock base is very soft. It's 75-25 superwash merino and nylon, and it's just really great to knit with. So I got a full stripe repeat done at my son's award ceremony last Friday. My husband rolled his eyes when I was knitting during the ceremony, but I was fully paying attention and not knocking the other parents, but I didn't have my phone in my face during when my kids' class wasn't being announced. So just saying. So these are going to be like my on-the-go socks as well as my sport weight socks. So I kind of have 2 vanilla socks going at the moment. Sorry. So those are just all my sock works in progress. I don't think I've ever had that many socks on the needles, but since I ordered more sock needles, oopsies, then I just have a lot on the needles then. Not a big deal, right? Okay. I'm just going to show my brioche cowl very quickly. I really haven't done a whole lot. I haven't fallen out of love with it, but it's just not something that I'm reaching for because I was working on my cardigan so much. And I cast on all these other projects, which I don't know why I did, because now my mental space is being taken up. Like, see, I think I've only done that many rows. That's it. So not even that many more color changes. It's still kind of on this red burgundy color. I did say I got a break in the yarn somewhere here, which is why these colors are repeating, which not a big deal, but this was just supposed to be something that was ongoing. I don't have a timeline to finish it. And if you want more information on the size needle, I think I'm using a 5, and the cast on number, you can check out the project page on my Ravelry. I've been much better about trying to do my needle sizes and more specific details on those, because I went to go back and look at old projects and I didn't even put needle sizes for them, and I don't remember if I used like a 10 or a 10 and a half, and I'm frustrated with myself because I don't remember. Okay, and I think I have 2 more cast on projects. So one's gonna be a small one. I don't know what made me cast this on, but I wanted to do the girl from the grocery store. And I think I've shown my yarn choices on the podcast before. So I'm just going to show, I just kind of have like a shawl bikini right now. Or like a little crescent, that's all I have. So I've only done 2 wedges, and I think you're supposed to do 9. It's a fairly simple garter stitch shawl. So it's very mindless, and the yarns I'm using are, this is Christy Yarn Cafe Creations in chocolate orange, a very pretty heavily variegated yarn, and then my solid is Knit Pick Stroll in my messy cake in blue topaz. And you guys, I really want to get a new yarn winder, but I sent Knit Picks a message saying my winder that was almost 5 years old was like making a snapping sound, like a gear was getting stuck and snapping whenever I was doing it, and they sent me a new one. But I'm still not a super big fan of my winder, but instead of spending the $70 something on a Stanwood, what is it, like a 10-ounce winder, I think the large is, I can use that money for other things. So I'm gonna still keep using my Knit Picks winder until it breaks again, and then maybe I'll buy another one. I'm hoping to work at our next duty station, like as a substitute teacher. I forgot another pair of needles that I bought were some bamboo chiaogus, because I really wanted to try them out, because I love my Knit Picks ones, which are sitting right over here in their little interchangeable case, but all of the joins on the back side, the needles are coming out of the joins. And I know Knit Picks will replace them if I message them about it, but it's pretty much all of them. And I don't love the needles enough to bother with getting another set, because the cords drive me bonkers. I don't think I have one that I can kind of reach for, but they kink really easily and they stay kinked. Whereas the chiaogu cords are very flexible, but not too flexible, like the Haya Sharps, which I can't stand those cords either. So this one's being housed in my little gecko bag that I was holding my cardigan in, that I made from some Didymos wrap scrap fabric. Say that 5 times fast. And my last work in progress is my Pavement sweater, which you can kind of see like right here, this little corner, my yarn that I am using, but I only have 2 cakes in the bag right now. And I'll talk about the yarn first. It is a Knit Pick Stroll tonal in the blue violet colorway, which I think is really pretty. And this cake turned out to be a mess too. Look at that. Like I have this like cavern right here where it didn't quite wind very well. I'll try not to complain about it too much, but I've already split for the sleeves. This pattern, you split for the sleeves super early, very early. And so I'm a little worried about the fit, making sure I'm not going to lose any stitches. To show it to you, it looks very tiny right now. And my gauge is a little bit smaller than the pattern because I didn't want that 2 inches of positive ease. So you do this garter stitch collar up here, do some short rows to kick up the front neckline a little bit, and then you do such a minimal amount of knitting before you split for the sleeves. And I had to do a little bit of math because I looked on the project pages for Pavement, and a lot of people were saying that the sleeves were very tight. And when I looked at the schematic for the 43-inch bust size, the sleeves were only supposed to be, I think, 12 inches. And my upper sleeve circumference is 13. So I needed to add at least an inch worth of extra stitches when I cast on. So I added 10 stitches per sleeve on both sides. And because I didn't want any more stitches in the body, but I needed some more room in the upper arm because I didn't want them to be super tight, especially when the rest of the sweater was supposed to be like on the looser side. I just kind of adjusted. And that's one thing I really like that I've learned about gauge is I can adjust patterns. So I'm already looking at a different worsted weight pattern, and for my bust size, the sleeves are almost 16 inches in circumference, and that's just way too big. 3 inches of positive ease on your arm, you're gonna have like bat wings underneath. So learn about gauge, you guys. Figure it out, do the math. It's all about comparing and contrasting, doing a little bit of multiplication and dividing, and then you can adjust patterns to make them fit you, which is great. So like as soon as I know that my measurements are 41, 35, 43, then I know I can look at a pattern and I can see what the finished measurements are and adjust stitch counts if I need to. And it's been really great that I can make those modifications to make them fit. So I've only knit a couple, maybe 6 rounds after splitting for the sleeves. I was watching 13 Reasons Why yesterday, the second season. I've already seen the first season. So I knit until my hands hurt and then I stopped. Okay, so that is all of the knitting that I have done and sewing for finished objects and works in progress. Now I did get a little bit of more things to add, so like enhancements, acquisitions, and I've already showed you the needles. I left my cubics downstairs, but I can show those next time. I do like the Knitter's Pride. I want to call them Knit Pro. They're the same company, just depending on whether you're in Europe or in America. And I like the cords, but I want to knit with them a little bit more to see if the joins from the cords to the needles hold up. So I might end up buying some more, or I don't know. I don't need them, but it's always nice to have options. And then when I ordered the Chiaogu bamboo tips, I ordered some more longer cords. I ordered a 37-inch cord and a 30-inch cord to make 47 and 40-inch needles. Because I want to work on more than one garment sometimes, which I know I shouldn't because I have 7 works in progress, I think, right now. And my mental space is a little cluttered right now, so I feel like I need to clear up some needles to feel a little bit better. So I ordered those and some more cords, and then Knitter's Pride needles, and okay, good, I left this in my bucket. And I decided to order some Cascade yarns, Heritage Prints yarn, because I had never used it, and it's 150 grams, and they were on sale on Webs. And I might use this to make matching socks for my nieces and my sister, because each niece will take 50 grams to make a sock. And then with my sister, I can make her shorties using contrasting yarn for the heels, toes, and cuffs. I could actually probably get some fairly decent long socks for her. So if I use some contrasting yarn, I think I can get 2 pairs of kid socks, tube socks, and then 1 pair of adult socks. So I think those might be their Christmas presents. But if you haven't seen the drama related around Cascade yarns, you should look into it. I probably won't be purchasing Cascade yarns from now on due to some social media posts from a previous or maybe even current shareholder of Cascade yarns. You can look it up. I'm in the online group Knit and Chat on Facebook, and somebody posted that the mother-in-law of the current owners of Cascade posted some very charged post about gun control, and it's not on the side that I believe in, which I believe we need safe gun laws. I'm not trying to say we need to ban guns, but we need safer gun laws. So until some stuff is kind of cleared up about Cascade, I'm not really quite sure if I'm going to be purchasing from them again or purchasing their yarn. But I'm on the fence. I've never really purchased Cascade yarn to begin with. I'm usually a knit picks kind of person. So you make your own decisions. You do you. And we're gonna get into some fabric because, like I said, I raided the remnants bin at Joann because usually you can find some good chunks of fabric to make. My kids like the drawstring bags that I make, and then I also found a lot of fabric that I could make them like sleep shorts because I found a really cool free pattern. I think it's Pirates for Patterns. I will put that information on the screen, and I'll link in the down bar on the pattern that I'm planning on using. It's free, and they have adult size patterns and kid size. So let's see. This is what's left of my Galaxy fabric. I don't have a whole lot. I think I have 2 bits of it because, like I said, I cut the top off when I shouldn't have. I don't think so. I'll probably find it. I have my like bin, and that's what I cut from the handles. But it's so pretty. I don't want to get rid of it. Okay, and then I like to go and find good lining fabric, just kind of like plain, not necessarily like flat colors, but I did buy some navy, which I use for the inside. It does have glitter on it because I washed that Planets fabric with it, so I'm hoping that'll come off. But this is a good chunk. It was well over half a yard, and it's very wide. And then here is the Planets fabric that I picked out. I didn't realize it had planets on it because they roll them up so tightly. I didn't realize it until after I had taken it apart, but I love it just the same. And then my friend Victoria, who I'm supposed to be making that walk-along sweater with the Hawthorne tonal that I had showed last time, I picked up a cat fabric. She is a huge cat lover, and I wanted to make her a drawstring bag to put her sweater in, so she doesn't know about it. I don't think she watches the podcast, so it's not going to spoil the surprise. But I'm going to make a little drawstring bag for her to put, or for me to put her sweater in when I finish it and mail it. But she still has to get me measurements. Can't start a sweater without measurements. Excuse me. And then my son Oliver is usually the one to go shopping with me, and he said he wanted Cars fabric. And so we managed to find some with Lightning McQueen, and I don't remember the cars' names. This is upside down for you guys. Let's try it that way. So this one I have to be careful that I do cut it so I don't have upside down fabric. I usually buy fabric that's multi-directional, so it doesn't matter how I cut it. It'll still show up okay. But two of my fabrics that I bought here are ones that I have to be careful how I cut it. And then he picked out some Minions fabric, because who doesn't love Minions? These I'll probably make some sleep shorts or like sleep pants for him, just because I really want to try. I've made pants in the past, but for babies and out of old t-shirts, so we'll see how it goes. And then here's some more of just like some plain fabric, but it has a little bit of interest to it. I forget what they called it, but I found one in gray and one in green. So just some plain good fabric for lining the insides of like the drawstring bags, because I don't like super stiff interfacing. I like my bags to be fairly moldable, but that could like stand up. I just like them to be able to fit into a bag, and if they're too stiff, then I'm not a huge fan of that. So I got that, and I've already talked about my knitting needles, and I think that's all the knitting and yarny content that I have for this week. I did start a cross stitch, but it only has one word on it. I can't show you. My husband doesn't watch this. Let me just reach over and grab it really quick, hopefully without making a big mess. I'm hiding it from him, but our 10-year anniversary is in August, and I wanted to do a cross stitch with lyrics from an Avett Brothers song, and I'll put a link to the song below because there's a bunch of different versions on YouTube. But if you're a fan of the Avett Brothers, you probably already know the song. It's from Murder in the City, and there's a lyric on it that my husband just always loves to point out, and he's mentioned many a times how it kind of pertains to us, and it's, always remember there was nothing worth sharing like the love that let us share our name. So I did this little cross stitch pattern, and it's via stitchpoint.com, and I'm just stitching the lyrics onto a piece of linen fabric, and I'm going to frame it for our anniversary. I don't think I'm going to do anything on the outside, just leave it very plain and simple. He's not big into the making things fancy or like big embellishments. He's always just kind of been a plain and simple person. So the only thing I have right now is the always part, and this is my first time stitching on the 28 count linen. Sorry, I had to wake up my computer again. And I have my little stitch minder here from Flying Frog Stitchery. This is one that she sent for free as an extra in my bag. So I just have to keep stitching until I'm done for right now, but I think it'll be really nice when it's all said and done. Sorry about that. It's going to be a video with a fair amount of cuts in it because I keep getting interrupted by my children. Life of being a parent on a holiday where both kids are at home from school. So that's all I have today for the knitting and yarny content for today. If you liked what you saw, like and subscribe to try to get the video out to more people to see. I can do more giveaways and more knit-alongs if more people participate. And if you want to hear about what's going on with our lives, you're more than welcome to grab some knitting and a drink and hang out for a little bit. I will try to keep it short and not ramble on too much about what's going on with us. If you are leaving, then you have a great day, and I hope you enjoy the rest of it with your family and your knitting, and you enjoy your weather. I hope it's not 100 plus degrees wherever you're living like it is here. And I will see you guys next time. If you're hanging out, I'll see you there. Last time I talked a little bit about us prepping for our next move. With the military, we move every 2 to 3 years. This is our 4th duty station in 10 years, and well, it's not even 10 years, it'll be 10 years in September. So my husband sent in his list of places that he would like to move, and he gave HRC the list of Fort Lewis in Washington, Fort Lee in Virginia, and JBER in Anchorage, Alaska. And HRC came back with Korea, which is a 2-year accompanied assignment, Fort Leonard Wood, which is in the middle of Missouri, about an hour outside of St. Louis, and then JBER, Alaska. My husband really wanted to go to Korea, but because our youngest son has celiac disease, and Korea doesn't really have a lot of knowledge on celiac disease. In fact, a lot of the gastroenterologists there don't even test for celiac unless you're close to one of the large cities. So for us to eat out or to buy food on the economy, it would be very stressful and not particularly safe, because they believe they don't quite understand gluten involves wheat, barley, oats, and a whole bunch of other stuff. They'll say it's gluten-free because it doesn't have white flour in it, but it will have wheat flour in it, and soy sauce has wheat in it. So that was kind of stressing me out. If he could go for a year by himself, granted, I wouldn't want him to leave for a full year, but I know that he would really want to experience Korea. I would totally send him. He would have a really great time. I can hold down the fort for a year. It's not a big deal. But we know Alaska is a lot more our speed. The weather is something that I would enjoy. And so we decided we're gonna go to Alaska. So next summer, our family will be packing up and driving across the country, like northways, to get to Alaska next summer. So we're very excited. We're probably gonna live on post for the first time in the almost 12 years or 11 years that John's been in the military, which will be nice to not have to worry about paying bills or anything like that. You just don't get your housing allowance, which is okay, but it'll be a fun new adventure. So we're only going to be in El Paso for about another 15 months or so, and then we'll be traveling up to Alaska. So those are our big news for this time. Since the last time I chatted with you guys, we've just been doing a lot of appointments, some follow-ups with the GI doctor for Oliver. Levi is wrapping up the end of his school year. He only has 2 weeks left, and he signed up for an enrichment summer school program, which is at a different elementary school that is close to us, but he is going to be coding robots and doing a cooking class. So he'll be doing an AM and a PM class, and that's only for 3 weeks after school is over, and it's only Monday through Thursday. So it's something that won't take up the whole summer, but I think he would really enjoy doing. And he also had an award ceremony on Friday, and he got A honor roll in his class. I think he was one of 3 or 4 students, and there's 22 kids in his class that got A honor roll, and so we're very proud of him. And he got to come home early from school that day, and we rented a new movie and got donuts. Oliver had a gluten-free donut, which we always keep in the freezer for occasions like that. And this weekend we've just been hanging out. I think I've mentioned already that it's getting very warm here in El Paso. Next weekend I think it's supposed to be 106 and 107. So we're very thankful that our air conditioning works and we have a roof over our head, food and popsicles and plenty of water to drink. And that's kind of the gist of everything that's going on. We don't have any big plans this summer. My husband and I did get tickets to go see Dave Chappelle and Jon Stewart at the end of the month of June, and our friend Carrie, who lives around the corner from us, volunteered to watch our kiddos. So that's very exciting. It's the first big thing we've done since we've had kids. And so Levi just turned 7, and we're just now doing something big like that. And our 10-year anniversary is this summer. So we're trying to figure out something that we can do for that. We have my mother-in-law who's trying to come visit sometime before the kids' school starts. And, you know, before we know it, school's going to start again, and then we're going to have to be getting ready for moving. It's going to fly by very fast, as it always does. So that's kind of it. It's a little ridiculous and wild, and we're just doing one day at a time to try to finish things up. And I know I've been a little quiet on Instagram just because finding the time to like snap a photo and get things on there and doing the hashtags and everything. I know it only takes a few minutes, but sometimes I forget, and then by the time I remember, the lighting is gone for the day. And then I don't want to walk outside and put on a 100% wool cardigan to take a picture of because it's so warm. Our air conditioning is running basically all day long just because it does drop into the 70s at night, but the house doesn't cool off as quickly overnight, and we can't keep our windows open because of issues we've been having in the neighborhood, and people leave their dogs out and they bark constantly. So we have to keep the windows closed for noise reasons. It's kind of a mess because I would love to keep the windows open because that's what we did when we lived in Germany. Our windows were always cracked open pretty much year round except for dead of winter, like December through February, and it just kept the house so much cooler and, you know, not as stuffy. But what can you do? So there's not much else to talk about, so I think I'm going to cut it at that and let you guys get on about your day. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys in about 2 weeks. Stay cool and keep your needles moving.